confidence in, but our poor city, our poor city, as we move forward. State politics. Touch on just a few things on the state level. Florida is notoriously Republican dominated, so I don't even try and pretend, right? I don't even try and pretend that like the state politics is going to be different from week to week. It's very, I guess cohesive is the word that I'll use for lack of better terms. Each week you can expect to hear from state politics how the Republicans are trying to, hijack the narrative in this state. And I don't know what else to do other than, kind of keep beating the same dead horse. But here we are. The governor this past week has asked our state legislature to come up with legislation that bans the teaching of critical race theory. Critical race theory, as we talked about in previous episodes, is red meat for the Republican base to get people to stop talking about racism, to get teachers to stop talking and teaching about Black history from the lens of disparities and the lens of discrimination. It happened, y'all, but they don't want that to be a part of what students are learning in 2021, that there were white bathrooms and Black bathrooms, that there was a white side of town and a Black side of town, that there were white schools and Black schools, and that they weren't of the same caliber. They don't want to learn this. They don't want their kids to learn this. Why? Well, if you let them tell it, it's going to destroy the nation at the core. It's going to teach people to hate America. Listen to those words and what they're saying, right? Because we know all it's going to do is expose the truth. All it's going to do is have more and more white people understand why white privilege is a relevant word in 2021. I have some white friends, even to this day, we'll have conversations about crap that to me is basic common knowledge because of my lived experiences and because of what I've been intentional about learning about history. They never knew. They're shocked. And it's that very shock and awe and revelation about, previous generations' wrongdoings that they want to hide. And they're going to hide it under the cloak of un-Americanism. They're going to hide it under the cloak of, you hate America, you're trying to destroy our nation, you're trying to say that we're bad people. No. Critical race theory talks about history so you understand that our nation made mistakes. That in order for there to be a white class that is by and large larger shares of homeowners, by and large larger shares of entrepreneurs, have the majority market share in all of our different economic sectors. How did something like that happen? Did the Black people not come up with any good ideas? Did the Black people not want property? How did all this happen? How do we end up with hoods and ghettos in every city and every state of this great nation? Are the Black people inherently flawed? If you aren't learning, I'm not saying teach critical race theory is a law class. Like college students aren't even technically learning that particular thing. But when you teach history under this umbrella, that every time we talk about disparities and discrimination and what happened historically, beyond Martin Luther King's, love your brother and let's just all be friends, kumbaya mentality, but the side of Martin Luther King that talked about fairness and justice and equity. When you make equity these folks are making equity a bad word. Pay attention, y'all. Pay attention. Equity is a bad word. I heard DeSantis say it. I heard him say it in the press conference. How do you make all right? I'm not gonna harp on it. I'm just saying all this to say keep your eyes open and don't go for the horse and pony show. DeSantis is still the front runner for president. His ability how do I want to say this? His ability to speak to the issue without calling it the issue, right? His ability to speak to critical race theory, to women's, the assault on women's bodies, against any justice and policing and in favor of law enforcement. Oh my God, the man's a master. And you got to be a hater if you say he's not. He knows how to frame his arguments. And so that's my goal. And just talking about that real quick, our governor, is to keep your eyes open, man. This man's going to be a Republican frontrunner for president, and we're going to have to not only deal with this in the state of Florida, but combat it on a national level. Fearmonger master. That's what I call him. In other state news, $878,000 was withheld from different school districts around the state, and the federal government ruled that money had to be returned. Government has the power of the purse strings. Is how they get people to act right. If they don't believe that you can have mask mandates in place for your students, a threat was that they were going to withhold salaries. A threat is that they were going to withhold funding. This critical race theory, he's not solely basing it on funding. Now he's opening institutions and teachers up to litigation. Now you can be sued. And now they are going to, make you lay out what you've been teaching in class and get their lawyers to say, yes, this is critical race theory. You taught in your class that the GI Bill was only given to white soldiers initially and that black soldiers couldn't get it. And you're teaching critical race theory. You're teaching against Americanism. I don't know. Keep your eye out for the fearmonger masters, y'all, here at the state level. It's happening. It's happening. It's happening. What time do we got here? All right. All right. So I ain't going to hold you. There's just some national news that I really want to get to here because I'm worried, y'all. And this is, as I kind of fly through the local and the state politics, the national politics is kind of what is keeping me up at night these days. The Democrats are too stagnant right now. I talked about it last show. I talked about how Kamala Harris was sworn in for about an hour and 43 minutes while Joe Biden underwent some type of procedure, and nobody knew about it. It wasn't news. It should have been a whole hoorah about this kind of stuff. The Democrats aren't giving. You ever seen a picture, right? And the comments underneath the picture say it's not giving what it should give. It's just not giving what it should give. When Democrats have control of the House and, a slim majority in the Senate and a Democratic president in the White House, we cannot, do you know how hard that is? We cannot afford to not give what it's supposed to give. Right now, all Democratic roads are leading back to infrastructure. They're all leading back to this infrastructure, but that is the big win that this administration can say that they have is, we passed the infrastructure bill. It's a great thing. I mean, the roads and all of that, needs to be having some attention to. But at bottom, who are going to be these contractors who are getting paid off of this, all of these infrastructure plans, right? Where is the transfer of wealth? How many toll roads are we adding? Legislation, whether you're at the federal level, state level, local level, has to have a positive impact on the people. Now, I talked about traffic early on when I was talking about rent control and how the traffic in Tampa Bay, is an issue. So better infrastructure around the nation could lead to faster moving cities. Yeah, we need that. I'm voting for it. But we're just making it faster for you to leave your job that's not paying you enough to survive to get to your your children that you might not be in a position to best give them it's not fixing a lot of underlying American issues is what I'm saying, y'all. You got these child tax credits that they're pushing really heavy, the stimulus and so forth. But these are not going to be enough. They're just not enough. The people have clearly stated what we need. George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. We're not going to feel like we have a victory until something is done about this, because still to this day, new hashtags with new names based off bad police interactions are happening, and there's no accountability. The blue wall is as thick and as solid as ever, if not being reinforced by the Republican counterparts, like our own governor here in this state, who are going to, what they say, back the blue. They don't care that you're a hashtag. They don't care that you're have been incarcerated for an egregious amount of time over drugs. They'll lock you up and throw away the key. There's no justice in policing. But the Justice and Policing Act is dead in the water right now. And that's not the only thing, Democrats. We have to also acknowledge the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. Voting rights. We asked for justice in policing, and we asked for access to the ballot. 100 years ago, Fannie Lou Hamer was testifying before Congress with the same issues. And that is where I personally believe we can't do this for another 10 years. We can't placate the people as if we have their best interest in mind better than the Republicans, who are just blatantly saying, we ain't doing that. We ain't talking about race over here. It's nothing wrong with voting. The police, we gonna black the blue. That's the stance that the Republicans are taking. And instead of coming up with something meaningful that actually passes, we're over here talking about infrastructure, yo. Meanwhile, Texas is closing ballots left and right, or closing ballot locations left and right, limiting voting hours. We had our own voting restrictive law that I think played a role on our local elections this year, from Dropbox locations to, early voting and such. We're dealing with the real problems every day, and our government at the federal level is failing while it has the power to meet the need of the hour. That is what keeps me up at night. The states, especially the southern states, are like running this thing like the mob. They're just coming in and they're saying what it is. There's an assault on women's bodies right now. I expect our Florida legislature to drop some type of anti-abortion bill and letting that thing pass. There's an assault on education. We're probably the fourth state to deal with the critical race theory issue. Texas has already gone ahead and gotten rid of that. I think Louisiana was like, don't even try it. Not to mention things that we would hope that they would get to, like student loans or marijuana. We can't even get to the things down on the wish list because here we are in 2021, Democratic president, Democratic majority in the House, and edging that majority in the Senate. We can't even get the top things that we want. Can we vote, and can we have some police accountability? Nope and nope. But we can get you some new bridges, and we'll expand out some of these roads. That's about the best we can do. So when I look at the politics that we're heading into for 2022, y'all, I'm here to let you know that things are going to be radically different. You're going to have more black Republicans. You're going to have more Candace Owens, more Blexit events. You're going to have more people wearing the red hats, make America great again. I mean, look at big influencers like and I love Kanye. I don't want to like make it like I'm a Kanye hater. I'm a big Kanye fan, huge guy. But when you listen to his philosophies, it stems from this very conundrum that I'm talking about, which is, what are these Democrats doing when they have the power except bending over, you know? Kodak Black and these folks who, you know, they don't come from politics. They don't come from good grades and paying attention to, you know, the geopolitics and socioeconomics. No, these folks are now just public figures who people are listening to, and from their own lives and own positions, I'm telling you that unless we do something radical in politics, we are going to lose more and more and more people who should align democratically, but the Democrats ain't doing nothing. And the Republicans is putting more money in people's pockets, even if they're silencing history, even if they're controlling women's bodies. Yeah. They're putting more money in people's pockets. This country, we talk about it often, Political Hour. This country runs off two engines. You have your political leg, right? And you have your economic leg. And together in tandem, that's how we have this beautiful thing called this American experiment. One can't function without the other. And Democrats do not have traction or footing in the economy. We just don't. Nobody's talking about it. Nobody's concerned with it. Democrats are concerned with social issues. We're concerned with rights and human rights and people's rights, and all that's important. But when you go to South St. Pete and you have conversations, the most important thing is the almighty dollar. Yeah, folks want their rights, but they don't care if you don't like them, as long as that money's hitting. And that one understanding is something that I continue to push. I continue to push in my own personal politics. I continue to talk to Democratic leaders with that mindset of prioritizing the economy. We have to learn to do that as Democrats. We cannot let the side that is blatantly working against the people, housing, education, rights, race, you can't let them control the main narratives of Americanism. Faith, family, flag. We are patriots. I hate when I talk to people and they're like, I hate this country. I'm like, what? I love this country. We're Americans, baby. Like, come on. Don't let only one group of people define what Americans are. Come on. We're the most influential, especially Black Americans. Boy, Black Americans set the code for the whole nation. We set the culture for the entire nation, which bleeds out into the world. I was just listening to some hip hop from like London. I was listening to some hip hop from Japan. Like, trap music has transcended cultures around the world. Not to mention, I know y'all seen the Island Boys. Get out of here. Get out of here. Don't tell me that you're not American when everything you do in the borders of this country translates to somebody getting rich off of it. Translates to somebody somewhere else wanting to be just like you. You can't look at another nation and tell me that they have that kind of influence in the world. I know about Nigerians. I know about South Africans. I know about, some of the Middle Eastern vibes. Shout out to the Middle East. Beautiful women. But it is America. From our sports to our pop culture to our music, to just our vibe, man, our vibes, our trends that we have to take pride in, and we have to hijack the narrative of what it means to be American. We gotta be proud patriots of this country. I'm an American. Jack, I got rights, Flag. Faith. Democrats can't shy away from faith. Do you know if you are driving around St. Pete, Pinellas County, and you see a yard sign and it says, I'm a Christian and I vote, that came straight from Republican headquarters. They are sending out yard signs with a claim on Christianity. Like, I'm a Christian and I vote means no critical race theory, means no voting right, means no equity. It means so much, but they don't have to say all that. You know what I mean? Like, I've canvassed in the city and I've seen the little signs that said, in our house, Black Lives Matter, trans rights, this, there's a whole list of it. Women's rights, this. They don't have to do all that because they know what Americans care about. And they picked the three things: faith, family, flag. So all they got to say is, I'm a Christian and I vote. And you pass the house, you already know what time it is in there. Don't come up in there talking against Donald Trump. Because they're not going to have it. Faith, flag, family. Democrats do not do enough to talk about family values, to the point where now when somebody says I support family values, is a Republican term. It's anti-gay. It's anti, all of these other things without ever having to be anti. And what I'm saying is there's so much room for the family values discussion. I support family values. I just understand that in America, all of the families are going to look a little different. Some people are being raised by grandma and granddaddy. Some people are being raised by auntie, uncle. Some people are being raised by two dads. In my case, my family will feature two mothers, right? What makes family values family values? Is it the people, or is it the practices, right? Is it the love? Is it the support? Is it the functionality of breathing prosperity and growth into each person who's a part of that tribe, that clan? That's family. Why aren't Democrats talking about this? It puts us in a position to be made to look like the people who are against everything. And that's what they're doing to us. And they're eating us up left and right with it. They're saying Democrats are anti-patriotic, that they hate America, that they want to tear down the family and push this agenda and push that agenda on our kids. All of these fallacies, right? They don't go so far as to say we're like anti-religious and stuff like that. But like, they don't have to, because they're the only ones who are pro. Like, I say all that to say, I wrap up this political half hour, political 45 minutes with y'all today, with saying, pay attention to politics. And if you're a Democrat, a Democratic leader, if you find yourself in a Democratic space, understand where we're losing at. We're losing, y'all. I'm not even going to pretend like we're not losing. We're losing. We're losing. Not completely, right? Because we got a Democratic president. We got a Democrat House majority. We got Democrats in the Senate. You got Democrats like Stacey Abrams on the rise. You got Charlie Crist running for governor, who says he's going to legalize marijuana, and retroactively, it's going to be great for a lot of people who were wrongly incarcerated or overly penalized. You got Democrats doing good things. But what we do not have is control of the narrative and power. Donald Trump was in office for 4 years, and in 4 years got junk done on some bulldog stuff. Whether you liked it or not, it's happening. Whole tax code rewrote. Period. I ain't hear nothing about no filibuster. I ain't hear nothing about why we can't build a wall. I heard why it wouldn't work. I heard that it was stupid. Man, that man started building a wall out there. He don't want people coming from whole countries. I heard that was disrespectful. I heard this, that, and the other. Man, it was a travel ban up until the Biden administration. You couldn't even come here. You couldn't even come here if you were from what he had deemed one of those S-hole countries. I seen it happen. We seen it happen together. So, Democrats, I'm a Democrat and I love you. And I don't want to not be a Democrat. We got to do better, baby. We got to do better. We can do better. We just got to get more in touch, man. We just got to get more in touch. So, thank y'all for tuning in with me. We got, one more episode for the year? Let me check the calendar. Maybe 2 more. This is it. All right. So this is it for 2021. This is it for 2021. We're going out with a bang. Stay prayed up, man. Stay close with your family. Stay true to what's real. But pay attention. Pay attention to politics. Don't let the world happen around you and then complain about the fact that it's not working in your favor. We got a new mayor coming. Next time I come back in 2022, we'll be talking about our new mayor. But hopefully by then, man, we'll have some brighter outlook. So I'm Mhariel Summers. This is the Political Hour. Shout out to Power Plug Radio. Tune in 5 ways to listen. Facebook, YouTube, get the app. Tune in on Alexa Power Play. And then I also got a shout out Saturday Morning Shop, my other gig, man. Make sure y'all get out, support the markets. Get out this weekend though. It's a lot of stuff to do. Don't stay in the house. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and we'll see you next year.
You're listening to Power Plug Radio, home of your throwback jams.